Hey, what is going on, guys? Happy Sunday to you. Hope you're having a blessed day and a blessed week. Ryan, what is happening, my man?
I've been busy, but
Busy.
I've been good.
You've
Nothing
been,
nothing really exciting. I've done some stuff in my home theater, but we'll talk about that later. But
yeah,
other
we're
than
gonna
that, I don't
have
think
some fun
anything
with
else has really been going on. What about you? How have you been?
that. Dude, I've been good, man. Quick little segue, not segue, but like off topic for tonight. We've been learning how to cook on this thing called a uni karu, which is a kind of like a little oven outside, man. We've been cooking pizzas. I'm learning how to cook
So
pie.
what's different between an oven? Is this like a
Um,
pizza oven?
It's a pizza oven, so
So
you
it gets
can
super hot.
use yeah, so it cooks I think ideally we cook it at about 725 is what they're saying. It's got a stone grill, like a
Mhm.
or stone platter on the bottom. In the very back of the unit, you put charcoal in it, you put, little pieces of wood. So ideally, you start off with charcoal, get that hot. That'll get up to about 500 degrees. And then you add some wood to it. And then just the way this thing designed with airflow, the flame goes up to the ceiling. And then the chimney basically sucks air.
Mhm.
So it's pulling that flame over the top. So it's really cool, man. It looks awesome. We had a good time. But this thing, there's a lot of work to it, man. I get stressed out. I'm trying to Jessica and I tried it out last night. Did good. We had a big pizza. I'm like, man, let's go smaller next time, like today, and let's learn how to do the small ones. Let's gradually get bigger.
Mhm.
And but it was cool, man. We had a family over, so I had my son, his wife, my oldest daughter, and my youngest daughter, and my oldest daughter's boyfriend. And so everybody had a chance to kind of build their own pie, put whatever toppings they wanted. Jessica had all these toppings laid out on the table and flour, and we had the dough, and it was just cool, man. But it's stressful because part of it is I threw the big pizza in there, and I couldn't rotate it. It was kind of stuck to the bottom, and then now the back is burning because this thing will cook your pizza in 90 seconds.
But why
So
do you have to rotate it?
because all the fire and most of the heat is in the back of the unit. So the back side
Oh.
of the pie starts charring pretty quick. So after about 20 seconds, you got to rotate it. So now you kind of brown that side, then you rotate it again, brown that side, rotate it again, brown that side, do it maybe one more time, and it is done. So, but it's pretty cool. But we're learning you got to get the stone is one temperature, and then
Mhm.
I guess the heat in the oven is another temperature, and you got to try to balance those out. So it's challenging, but that's what we've been up to, man. And I've been playing Call of Duty in the theater room, so that has been super super fun. But I'm still waiting on Ragnarok to come out. So yeah, man. So we're gonna have some fun tonight. Glad you guys are in the chat. I'm gonna say hi to some folks. We got Chris, Mike. Good to see you guys. Poncho, Talent. Who else? We got Keeping Up with the Joneses. Good to see you, Tristan. Rich is in the house. MQ. I never know how to pronounce this. Siphonics. Maybe I got that right. I hope I did. Siphonics Audio and Bruce Benoit. Chris,
Dang.
big super chat. Appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much, man. That's super generous of you. Definitely always grateful when you guys do that. So definitely not required, but absolutely appreciate that. Derek's in the house. So let me know where you guys are from. I always like hearing where you're kind of checking in on this Sunday night. A lot of times we get folks from literally all over the world, and that's just really cool to me. I'm grateful that we get to hang out. We'll hang out for about an hour, answer your questions. So if you have questions, drop it in the chat. Ryan will star those throughout the night. And then at the end of our discussion, after our main topic, typically what we try to do, if you're new to the chat, new to the live stream, we answer one question. So tonight, we're going to kick off after Ryan talks a little bit about his home theater. It'll segue into this, the most important component of a home theater. And once we do that, then we'll go into your questions. So definitely drop it in the chat. We got some folks over here saying they are from Australia, Georgia, listening from the UK. Good to have you, Jamie. Texas, Omaha. Super, super cool, man. Love seeing you guys from literally all over the world, man. that just still blows my mind. It really, really does, you know, because I'm just a small guy from Plant City, Florida. Most people have no clue where that's
The
even
name
at.
of that city just says it all right there.
Yeah, it's like, man, that is about as country as it gets. That's why I got this thick country accent, because there's just a lot of country folk here, a lot of farming. We've
I
got
don't really
strawberries.
consider you to have an accent.
Really?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's kind of a country twang. Siri has no idea what I'm saying half the time. I'm like, hey, and she's like, what is that? Foreign language?
Learn how to speak, fool.
Exactly, man. Treasure Coast, been to Don's house, Texas. Chris is from Earth. I'm glad, Chris, because I
Man.
question that sometimes. So at least you like put it on the record that you are
Put it
from
out there.
Earth. Man, I appreciate that, man.
Jamaica.
Oklahoma, Belgium, Jamaica, Kansas representing Jamaica. Look there, Mark. Super cool, man. Well, we're going to have some fun. Like I said, if you got questions, drop those in the chat as everybody's coming into the chat. So definitely we'll get to those after we talk about the main topic. So let's go ahead and segue into it. Ryan, you said that you've been up to some cool stuff in your home theater. You've been quite busy. So tell us a little bit about that, and then that'll segue right into our main topic of the night, which is the most important component of a home theater.
So all this started last week when I added rear subs. So I now have subs in the four corners of my room, and I was talking to Matt from Storm Audio, and Storm Audio has this really cool piece in the processor called Expert Bass Control. It allows you to put and tie subs into specific parts of your room, and you can link speakers to those subs. So if I have a sound that comes out of my front left speaker, I can make it so that, let's say, and these aren't my actual numbers, but let's say I can make it so 75% of the LFE comes out of my front left sub and 25% of it comes out of the rear. And then as the signal, we're going to stay on the left side, moves down my line. So if it went to my wides, then surrounds, then surround 2, and then my rears, the amount of LFE that it would play to each one of the subs would change. So you can feel the low frequency actually moving through the room, which is super cool.
Right.
So take, for instance, what was it? There's during the race scene in Ready Player One, there's a couple times when vehicles come from certain locations and move through the room, and you can actually feel the low frequency. It's quick, but you can feel it, and it's super cool.
That's interesting.
So it took a while to get dialed in, and I haven't gotten it fully dialed in, but it was just taking those things to the next level. And it's not anything to do with room correction or anything like that. It's a fully manual process right now from Storm, but it was just a super cool addition that I'd never really looked into or taken advantage of in Storm. But that also, adding the extra subs, showcase some problems that my room has. And this came up at M-Wave in that my room vibrates a lot, right? There's some issues with it. And this really pushed me to the point where I just need to fix these things. So one of my neighbors is a really good painter, came over, and he helped me hunt for rattles.
Yeah.
And if anybody doesn't know, hunting for rattles can be a huge pain in the butt.
Right? It is. I haven't even done it in my room. I'm 15 years into it.
But what you end up doing, the best way to do it is you do sine sweeps, or not even a sweep. You'll just like have your subs play a specific note, or
that's the best way.
A specific hertz, and you just move up and you find the resonance frequencies for everything in the room. Now, when you have multiple sub locations in 4 different corners, you end up having to do this 4 times, right? Because one of the subs is going to do one thing, and then the other one's going to have other rattles, and the back one and the back right. So I ended up doing this a bunch. We put in 200 screws into my room.
Swiss cheese, man.
100.
That's hilarious.
And not only was it just screws, we found.
Is this mostly like drywall?
So a lot of it was drywall, and this is why clips are important. I didn't go the clip route, but this is why clips are important, because I did all of this before I became a dealer, and it was just kind of it's great now. I mean, there's some small issues, but we fixed a lot of them. And then we found out that my front subs are in the walls, right? They're in cavities, and there's these not big, but there's these openings that they sit in. and there's HVAC in with my front right sub, and it was actually vibrating the HVAC so bad that, and this HVAC is, you can hear it outside the room, like the main area of my basement. Then you have the theater. You can hear it through the doors when they're shut. It is vibrating in the wall that bad, and you could hear that. Then there was another one where the fabric, because I have front velvet, was coming down slightly over one of the subwoofers on the front left.
Okay.
And the 4000 was moving that fabric so fast, it just sounded like a high-pitched clicking in the back of the room. It was really odd.
That's interesting.
It was really difficult to find some of this stuff, but we ended up finding a lot of it. It was really interesting to walk around the room and watch at certain frequencies the wall just like vibrate. And so it was because it wasn't attached well enough to the studs, and you could hear it hitting the studs. So it was a lot of work, but we got everything, sanded and repainted and everything. So you'd never know we did it now, but it was a lot of work, but it now sounds, in my opinion, better than ever. But that led to me thinking for Michael, what's the most important part of the room, or most important part of the home theater? Well, to me, the more I do this, the more I realize that it's the room. Now, there are certain things that I don't really think I will ever do because I think they're overkill. But, there are things that you need to think about and do in order to make sure that you don't have the room ruining your experience.
Sure. And I know and that could be a lot of things. That can be light. I remember, I guess it's been maybe close to a year ago. I knew for a long time, I've got a double sliding glass door on the right side of my theater room. So it lets in a decent amount of ambient light. Never really thought a ton about it. I'm just thinking, okay, I really do not want to learn how to tint a window. And I'm thinking, okay, that's really the only option is doing tint or just hanging some really, really thick curtains and kind of stuffing it in there and kind of walling it off. But I need access in and out of that door, because when I bring in theater seats, when I bring in large subwoofers, pretty much anything that's large, my rear entrance into the room, it's a double door, but it's like two little half doors, if that kind of makes sense.
Like my room?
Yeah, but they're small.
Are they solid or hollow core?
It's hollow.
Oh, yeah.
But the other part, the other door, the reason why I can't get even good size stuff through that door is one of those doors I can't open because it opens into my riser. And so that door is like permanently stuck. So, which is no big deal. If I need something big to come into the theater room, I just walk around the back of the house, come in through that double sliding glass door. So I know I needed to keep that door accessible. So I couldn't like permanently wall it off. I couldn't permanently block that. There was one day I thought, let me do some research, and I found some, it's called I think it's called Velamax. And the Velamax, literally you spray water on the window, you spray water on the back of this fabric, and you stick it on, and you take a squeegee and squeegee out the water, and it sticks to that window with static cling. And it has not fallen, it has not moved, it has not budged. It's extremely light reflective. On the outside of the house, it looks like a mirror. On the inside, it just looks like a solid black. And so
cool,
putting that on there. But that's another aspect of, okay, the room really matters. What you do to your room, and the more that you can put into that room, whether it's a new construction or in my case, it's kind of after the fact, and we're trying to, okay, what can we do to make our room experience better? My issue, I didn't realize this, but there was a guy that came over and well, him, Nick. And so Nick said, hey, I'm going to be down in your area. If you want to, I'd love to come by and hang out with you. And I'll even bring my colorimeter and my calibration software, and I'll calibrate your projector. And I went, dude, that'd be awesome. Never had it really professionally calibrated, and Nick knows what he's doing. So Nick told me, he said, Michael, if you can get this room darker and block out the light from that window, that sliding glass window, he said, you will double the contrast ratio on your image. And I don't know what it was, but when he said that, it was a no-brainer. I've got to do this. And so that's when I began to research, found the Velamax. Cost me like 20 or 30 bucks. I'm like, are you serious, man? It took you 14 years to do this? What the heck were you thinking, man? But kind of the
Sometimes you
same
just need a
thing.
push.
It's kind of the same thing, I mean, you're talking about going through meticulously every single frequency, and I've done that in my room. I've got like a CD that just plays a 20 hertz test tone, and then it plays that for like 30 seconds. Then it goes to 21 hertz or 22 hertz, or maybe it goes the other way. But that's what
Mhm.
you guys need to do. You can download them from the internet. Sometimes you can order a CD, um, and just go through each one of those and just listen. Because if you turn up your volume, let's say at 18 hertz, you're going to see there's some stuff that's going to start rattling in your room probably.
Mhm.
Or
Well,
maybe
the
it's
other thing you can do
maybe
is
it's
you could use
22
something like
hertz.
Rue and use a sine wave generator.
Okay, so that's true. So absolutely. So, but definitely. So these things, I think they really matter. And kind of what I posted in the description of this video, this live stream, is that there's no amount, like there's no gear that you can add to a room to fix that. I can't add a projector that's going to eliminate that ambient light.
That's gonna
Minimum.
change. It's coming.
Yeah, but you
Spatial.
can't fix that. What do you
Spatial.
to fix light?
Spa oh, the light? No.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
sound,
that's what I'm
yes.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, you all right, spatial isn't gonna fix your rattles, right? There's no way,
So spatial is able to
no
use
way.
noise cancellation in order to get rid of frequencies.
Yeah, it ain't gonna
That's
happen.
pretty cool.
Dude,
I don't know. I can't say it'll do it because it
nah,
hasn't come out
there's
yet,
no there's
but
no way.
it's
When
supposed to be
my
pretty
wooden
cool.
cabinet when my wooden cabinet is vibrating because there's some physical wood, pieces that are loose from
Mhm.
having big subwoofers, um,
Well, I can't help you there.
yeah, that's
But
what I'm saying.
it can help with resonance frequencies. I mean, think about noise canceling headphones. It's the same premise.
Hmm,
You use frequencies to cancel out
yeah.
other sound, so
Yeah,
you can neutralize them. I
yeah,
don't know to what effect, right? I don't
sure.
know how far it can go, but man, there's some cool stuff coming.
Yeah,
Very cool stuff coming.
yeah. Keith, you mentioned that's how window tint works.
Yeah.
It just I don't know, I know it works that way, but I'm just thinking, I don't know, it's a bigger process. This stuff was so easy, like, and I'm not what I consider handy. I could do this. And it literally is. You put it on there, you use a razor blade, cut the edges, and that's it. And maybe window tint is really no different. But I'm just thinking, man, there was no issues with bubbles. I mean, it's just completely flat. It was super, super easy. So definitely, man. Chris, appreciate the super chat. A big factor with the room is presentation. If your room does not have character, you're missing out on massive factor in making your home theater yours. That's true. Not everybody wants character, honestly, in their room. I like mine. A lot of people look at my front wall and they're like, Michael, you really need to paint that wood black so that it disappears when you're watching a movie. I'll be honest with you, I'm not painting it black. I'm not staining it. I originally wanted to do that because everybody was telling me I need to do that. A friend of mine actually built that cabinet and spent probably 6 months of his life doing that. And because he was working on weekends and so forth and just taking his time, and when he began to send me the pictures of, okay, I've built the base, I built this, I'm starting to build the archway. I'm looking at this beautiful red oak, and I'm thinking, okay, this guy has put countless hours into this project. There's no way that I'm going to hide the beauty and the craftsmanship and the detail that's in this, you know? So is that a sacrifice or is that a compromise that I'm making? Probably so. But that's one I'm willing to make. I'm not.
Would you ever think about staining it dark?
Mm-mm. That's what I was
No.
going to do. He was going to create an ebony stain for me. Just,
Mm.
yeah, like literally, like he was going to,
Dude, that would look really good.
it would hide all of the detail though.
Mm, I don't know.
Dead serious, man. It would hide all that detail. Guarantee it. You wouldn't be able to see the diamond pattern. You wouldn't be able to see the hand carved. Like he actually hand carved a lot of the pieces and the elements on that top part. So it's just, I don't know.
Well,
So
what if you accentuated those using a different color?
I don't know. Not sure, but it probably won't ever happen. Be honest with you. So,
Fair.
but
Fair.
definitely, man. But Chris, certainly appreciate the super chat, brother. Always, I'm grateful for that. Grateful for your friendship, and it was cool meeting you at M Wave, man. So looking forward to hanging out with you again in the future. So, so Mike said, let's see. Chris says, but that front stage still adds a presentation factor. Absolutely. You're right. So I chose to do that in my home theater. Where I was going with that is there are a lot of guys that I saw in Kansas as well as Wisconsin, Illinois. They just blacked out the whole front. Like they don't want anything seen. They want the lights to go out. One gentleman, dude, he
Whole
blacked out
room.
the entire room. I mean, we're talking everything was velvet. Speakers had velvet on them. I mean, he was just so
The
obsessed.
Nigel approach.
He was so obsessed with reflections. That's the intent. That's the extent that he went with his. So not everybody wants that, but I'm with you, man. I like a cool vibe in the room. Like I like LEDs in a theater room. I love seeing LEDs. I don't necessarily want them when I'm watching a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I've got LEDs around my screen. I would never watch a movie with that on. That would be so distracting to me. Now, if we're playing, sometimes our family will go into the theater room and I forget the name of it, but it's like a PS5 game that you can purchase and there's a bunch of different types of games and it's interactive. You log in with your cell phone and everybody gets to answer on their cell phones.
Oh, yeah, I've played
And
that. That's good
yeah,
fun.
it's just a fun family time. Now, something like that, we're not doing it because we got a 4K image. We're not, that's more just entertainment. So yeah, I'll leave the light on that. That creates a cool ambient. In Ryan's theater, a lot of his speakers, he put LED lights behind Martin Logan's. First time I saw that, I was like, dude, that is so dope, man. That like, who does that? That was a really cool thing. Jonathan, who we have on the podcast, he has LEDs behind his JBL speakers, his line array. And so the RGB LEDs, that just gives you so much flexibility to create this cool vibe.
Yep.
But then just make sure you're able to either dim them down really low or turn them off when you're watching
Can be a
movies.
rabbit hole of expense, though. They
Yeah,
can get
I like it
expensive
though.
really fast.
Actually, there's a company called Govee. You probably have seen them
Mm-hmm.
online. They're sending me like two of their, I think it's called their M1 LEDs, because I would love to be able to change color behind my screen.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah. So they're going to send me two strips. They're about, I think, 3 meters long. It's about 15 feet. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one on. Originally, I wanted to do, let me see. Well, maybe I can, yeah, let me share this. I can find it. I've got 4 acoustic panels behind my screen. And so the thought is what if I kind of outline each one of those? So that's a thought. Let me pull this up. I want to get since we're talking about.
While you're looking for those, I'm going to address some comments that people are talking about with vibrations. So, guys, the vibrations in my room are not from the subs vibrating. I'm on a concrete floor, and the floor is not vibrating. Like you can go down and feel it. The JTR subs, they have virtually no resonance in the cabinet. They're not vibrating at all.
Yeah, the cabinet's
definitely it is literally the sound waves that are resonating with different parts of the room that are causing these to happen. It's not the subs vibrating the walls around them. It's literally the sound waves that are coming out of these subs that are causing the issue. I've thought about that and went down that rabbit hole long ago, and I don't need to do that on these subs. I don't have an issue with them. But show me these LEDs.
All right.
I'm debating on doing some of the not like individual light ones, but the ones that are diffused. They all look like they're one light.
Yeah, so this is kind of my thought now this is just me in Photoshop, but it'll give you an idea. So if you look at this, so I've got my JTR.
Oh man, that would be so cool.
I think it'd be great. So my thought is kind of outline each one of these because right now they just blend in. They just kind of, they just disappear, which is fine. But I'm just thinking, man, if I could outline around each one of those speakers, and I may not do the bottom, it may just kind of go up the left side, over the top, down the right side, across, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I liked Jonathan's idea of putting them in the ports.
That he did mention that too, like inside the ports of my LCR. That would be interesting. I just don't know if I'm like willing to. All right, man, I have to remove all the drivers, and maybe I could do it from the back. It would be a pretty big process, but I'm thinking, I don't know. We'll see. I think it'd be easier for me to So we'll see. But that's kind of the thought there. So I'm either going to outline those, or I'm going to, you can't see it in this picture. Let me remove it. Delete that. Stop that. And then let me open up another one and I'll show you kind of really what they are now. Let's go here. Yeah, there we go. Let's open that one up. Let me zoom out a little bit so you'll be able to see. You guys have probably seen this like in my videos. Right now, I just have one LED strip in the back. So it's at the bottom. So if you could imagine at the bottom of each one of those, all the way from the far left, all the way over to the far right, there's just one LED strip.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically embedded inside. We took a router in a 2x4, cut the 2x4 at an angle, and routed out this little slot, and that LED strip sits inside that slot.
Mm-hmm.
So you get this really contrasty kind of, because the light's strictly coming from the bottom. So you got these really harsh shadows, which honestly I like. It looks cool.
I like that.
But it would be so much cooler, I think, is if I could change those colors, and I can't right now. It's just a blue LED. So I'm thinking, okay, I may try a couple of different things. I may try just doing that outline and leaving this blue.
I think you do both.
Yeah, I may end up buying another one because the 15 2 M1s, I think that's 30 feet. It may not even be enough to do all of those back panels.
It won't be.
I tried to
You'll
measure
need more than that. It adds up really fast.
I think I need about 40 feet total, but I think I can make it happen. Because some of that, if you see, I mean, it's hidden behind the speakers.
Yeah.
So
what I would do is I would do the acoustic panels, and I may even think about, you may even want to think about doing each panel on its own controller, so you can change them.
Well, so
here's
the
or something.
So here's the cool thing about the Govee strips is that they have like sections. So you can actually you can control like this part, the left, like the front end of it's going to be this color, the middle's going to be this color, and it'll actually do a gradient fading into each other. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
And they've got probably one of the best apps out there for lighting. So I'm definitely excited to kind of check those out. I haven't actually owned Govee products, and so I want to kind of slowly dive into the world of RGB and RGB lighting, and see if I can kind of create, some more cool stuff in the theater room.
It is really cool to add just to the ambiance of your room, especially when you're listening to music or you go in there and like mine all turn on when I have the theater turn on, and then we turn them off when the movie starts. But it just provides that level of experience, I guess.
So Chris says, he can confirm as far as the sections on there, you can do that. All right. So Draw the Line says I would just swap it out with an RGB WIC. Yeah. So I don't know what the M1 is as far as like what its capability. I know there's a bunch of different RGB. Some of them have white. Some of them have, I don't even know the extent of like the different variations of RGB. So I'm pretty new to it, but yeah, man.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah. So we're gonna have some fun with it. But so anything else on the topic of, before we jump into you guys' questions on, where did it go? There we go. Creating, and doing some things in your room, whether to visually increase, that visual appeal, whether it's blocking out ambient light, whether it's adding LED lights, whether it's chasing down rattles in your room. The room is super important, and even along the lines, we've talked about this before, the importance of acoustic treatment. Prime example, I had a friend of mine come over and he was listening to some bookshelves in my theater room and he liked the way they sound. I'm like, hey, why don't you just take this home and play with them for a little bit? So he took them home and I said, hey, how did you like them? He's like, honestly, I didn't really like them here. And I'm like, let me guess, there's no treatment in your room. He's like, none. It's like a normal home. And so the room itself makes a huge difference. He's like, I always wondered, like, how come when I come to your house, no matter what speaker you have in for review and you're listening to it, I like them. They're like, they sound really good. It's because it's in a treated room. There's a big difference. It's I had somebody comment just the other day on a video. We were filming at CEDIA at Elliston Systems and Design. And so we were talking, and as we were walking into the room, we were talking. So we kind of had, we began talking before we opened up the door. And so then we opened up the door and we walked into the room. You can like literally hear how much our voices changed in the microphone when you did that.
Mm-hmm.
Acoustic treatment and making sure that your room, doesn't have these massive reflections that can really drastically change.
I do think that the opposite of that is true. You don't want to overtreat your room either.
100%. And there's some mathematical like formulas as far as what percentage of the room. I think like Anthony Gramani, he's got some of that as far as what percentage you should be able to cover your walls, and so much diffusion, so much absorption. Honestly, I didn't really get into that with mine. I'm like, I just need to tame these reflections because it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I could clap one time really loud and you just hear it echo. And I know that's not good. That's going to reduce the amount of intelligibility in your room.
That's the biggest thing that I think that people get impacted by is they're like, why can't I understand dialogue?
Yeah.
And that's a big part of reflections and distortion and sound waves arriving at inopportune times. And if you treat at least a little bit, that's going to go way up, and your experience is going to become way better for sure.
So what is the first thing that people want to do when they can't understand the dialogue in the center channel?
Change your speaker or turn it up.
I need a better speaker. I need to turn up the volume on it. And turning up the volume, if the issue isn't the quality of the speaker, if the issue is because of these reflections in your room, guess what? Turning up the volume is going to make it worse probably, because now you got sound bouncing around even more in your room. And so sometimes that's not necessarily, hey, it's no problem, Chris. We'll wait on you, buddy. We'll just be right. When you get ready to come back, you come on back, man. But yeah, man. So let's see. The benefits of treating from zero will affect way more. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. By having some, my wife always says something's better than nothing. I started off with a few panels, and that helped a lot. Added more panels. So it's one of those things. Start with what you have, build some, buy some, whatever you got to do, but definitely get some kind of treatment in your room. That definitely can go a long ways to really increasing the performance of your setup. 100%. So Jed says, Anthony Gramani's, I think he's referencing him. I think he suggests 15% absorption and 15% diffusion. Yeah, I'm not sure I did a home theater tour of a gentleman. His name's Jay. He's up in Tallahassee. And so, is it Tallahassee? I always get it mixed up. I think it's Tallahassee, not Jacksonville. So yeah, he's up in Tallahassee, and his room has a lot of treatment. A lot of guys were like, hey, I think you kind of killed you went overboard. And he's like, no, actually I went really according to whatever he recommended. And again, I don't know the exact numbers, but definitely there's some guys that are way smarter than me that can kind of guide you in that area. And so definitely do some research, but definitely having some acoustic treatment can go a long way. So super cool stuff, man. Any other thoughts on that before we jump into some questions?
No,
Ryan?
No, I know we were very specific on things tonight. There's a lot that goes into this, but
100%.
I think it's question time. So if anybody has any more questions, people haven't asked very many, so maybe it'll be a short night, but drop them in the chat and we can go through some.
That never happens, man. No, usually what happens, we start answering questions and it's like Ryan star. It's all good.
Hour and a half later, hour and 45 minutes later, still here.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. All right, so let's get into them. So Pitt says, what do you think of the Macintosh MA? I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. MA 352. So I have never owned any Macintosh gear. Macintosh MA 352. Pull this up. We're looking at. Oh yeah, that's that little integrated thing. Check this out. This thing looks. I think it looks phenomenal. Probably sounds great too. You just spend a lot with Macintosh. So check this out. So it's a 2-channel hybrid integrated amplifier. So we've got 200 watts into 8 ohms, 320 into 4 ohms, So we've got basically part tubes right here.
Just be aware you're changing the sound.
Sure. But I think a lot of
Not
people,
necessarily a bad thing.
yeah,
I just want to make sure that people are aware.
sure. So, I think there's 8 photos. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let's rotate. Man, that's just, I'll be honest, man, Macintosh,
It is pretty.
they've got it down to where it's truly an art. I mean, the styling of this, I mean, these green LEDs or whatever, the glow in those tubes, that is awesome. Massive heat sinks. Pretty simple on the back. We got XLR inputs balanced. Okay. But that's a sexy beast right there, man.
So is it a class AB? Is that what it is?
Let me back out of here.
That's a little.
Yes. Let's go down to details, see if they give us some information. So like specs down here. Here we go. Tell me if you see it. Oh, here we go. Specs. May not say AB down here in the specs though. Let us know in the chat if you know offhand if this is if the other part of that, the solid state, if that's an AB.
Typhonics Audio says he's got a review of it, so I'm sure he knows.
Nice.
I don't know what
let us
it
know.
is.
But it's gorgeous, dude. I saw them when they first announced this a while back, and I think it's been out a while now, but man, it's gorgeous.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So I've just never heard much Macintosh. Most of the time Macintosh is way above Youth Man deals, you know.
I just can't get on
go.
the train of class A or class AB.
Yeah.
So it's solid state.
Yeah. But I don't know if it's like A, B.
I would imagine it's AB because I don't think you're going to generate that amount of power from something that's that small with class A.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know in the chat if you know. But it's a cool 2-channel. And I don't do a lot with 2-channel anyway, so that's definitely not my kind of forte, but I think it looks awesome, man. What does that retail for? MC352 Macintosh and
do I even want to know?
MSRP.
It's MA, not MC.
Oh, I said, yeah. Back in college, I had
7,000.
I had a professor say, read my mind. I'm sorry. Yeah. Read my mind, not my lips. So a lot of times I say stuff, but I'm thinking something different.
Are you talking about my wife?
No.
That's something she would say.
Yeah. The Macintosh is expected to cost $6,500. Now that was back in August 2019.
MSRP right now is 7,000.
Yeah. So I figured it went up.
Man.
Yeah. So it's been out for a couple years, about 3 years. It's beautiful. I think it looks awesome. But again, with Macintosh, you're going to pay quite a bit for the name. You're going to pay quite a bit for that build quality. So now could you tell, now this one, like Ryan was saying, you know, we were always talking about, like, especially with M-Wave, the benefit of when you're able to be able to do some blind testing so that you don't know what you're listening to, because it's easy to put that in your setup and go, oh my gosh,
and
this
I think
changed and this is crazy.
Doing something with tubes would be hugely beneficial because you can figure out, do I actually like the sound of tubes or am I just convincing myself? I'm not. Tubes are awesome. I've had tubes. I've had some, you know, wah amps and stuff for some for headphones, and there's been some great stuff. I am not against tubes. Tubes can do a lot for sound, but I think it's great to do A/B testing to really figure out what you really like. And when I say A/B, I mean fast switch, not I'm going to plug this in and then I'm going to unplug everything and then I'm going to plug this in, because that just opens the door for subjectivity, and can be very, very dangerous.
So we're saying the tube is the preamp section of it, but the solid state is the output. So gotcha. Pretty cool, man. But yeah, I like it, but
I like Macintosh's stuff.
I'll ever own one, you know.
My theater wouldn't be able to run it. It's too inefficient. I'd pop all my breakers. It wouldn't happen. I pull too much power.
Mark Wilson says, wow, Ryan, 200 screws. I think screws. Why'd you start then? Did you answer it?
No, I answered it with I started this before I answered the question because multiple people were asking. It was more about, it's the sound waves, not the reverberation. But yeah, 200 screws. It took 2 full days. It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
That's
but worth it. Totally worth it.
It's those little things, man. Sometimes it's worth the effort. Like that pizza stone.
I'm sure it is, especially when you get dialed in.
Man,
Are
one
you
time,
guys going to sit outside for Halloween? Like you sit on the driveway? You could, instead of handing out candy, you could just hand out slices of
pies.
pizza.
Yeah.
Hey guys, hold on, 90 seconds. Your pizza's almost done.
Kids will love it, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's pretty cool. Dirk says, thinking of getting a 3-channel amp. Sins. What does that mean?
Sin's adding Atmos, so he's added Atmos
Oh,
speakers,
Sense.
and now
Okay.
he's
I got you. Since adding Atmos speakers, like you said, it takes power away from the other channels. That's correct. So the more channels that you add to your amplifier, the more it's going to kind of suck the life out of your AVR. So going to use it for the front sound stage speakers. Recommendations for a 3-channel amp. First question I always ask is, what is your budget? Because that is going to determine
big
a
deal.
lot. Yeah, I mean, if you got a $200 budget, okay, we're pretty limited on what we can advise. If you say, got a $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, or there's a big difference there. Budget, you're looking at probably, what are the brands? Outlaw Audio, Emotiva,
Behringer,
OSD, Behringer. So there's some good budget ends. Parasound is going to step it up a little bit as far as cost.
a little bit.
Yeah, build quality. Like I said,
you moved up quite a bit.
$500 to $3,000.
He says max $1,000. So
Okay.
what I would look at, Dirk, and this is a guy that I just partnered with. I'd look at Buckeye, and if you have any interest in that,
let me pull up their website.
Buckeye is a one-man shop. It's all Purify, HypeX modules, and it's very, very low distortion, large amounts of power, and he takes a very objective process to what he's designing.
Let's see what he's got.
I just ordered some Purifies from him, the 704s for my LCRs.
Right here?
I'm not recommending Dirk gets the 704s because those are enormous. I need those for my LCRs. But if you're doing something like
a 3-channel amplifier,
a 252, and I don't know what speakers you are, so I don't know what the power demands are, or how loud you listen or anything like that, because there's a lot of variables that go into this, but you're going to get a lot for your money out of this. And there's really not anywhere you're going to go upgrade wise, in my opinion, when you start doing Purify or Encore. I mean, it's
so like this right here, that's an 8-channel amplifier though. Would he be better off to get like the 4-channel and just use 3?
Probably. But remember, that's a 502. He could do the 252, which is
all right. So maybe I'm not seeing it. Okay, right here, I see a 6-channel,
right?
4-channel, 2-channel.
Yep.
Yeah, but okay. So right here, the 4-channel. How come they don't make a 3-channel?
Because the 252s are a stereo amp, so it's 2 stereo amps in there. So they don't have a 3-channel option.
I got you. So that would be a little odd to do that.
Yeah, Purifies are if I remember correctly, they're a single output, and Encores are a stereo. Okay, or at least the 502s and the 252s are.
But then these up here, they're going to be more expensive. Well, that one's it's a little bit above your budget. So this is $1,700.
Yeah, the Purifies are they take it to another level as far as distortion, and
you're getting 225 watts a channel. That's fantastic. 425 for 4 ohms.
They'll actually probably drive past that. But the cool thing about Purifies is they will give you virtually 0.00 distortion at full load, which is unheard of. So it's clean. I really like that he just showcases the inside, shows you that there's nothing tricky going on. You're effectively paying for his expertise of assembling a tried and true piece of hardware. You're paying for the gear, and then I don't think there's minimal overhead. So I think it's what he's offering is fantastic. Yeah, I love these guys that are trying to step out into the space. I've heard of Buckeye, but I'm not really familiar with them. So definitely, we love kind of introducing you to some new companies. And so check out their website at, what was it, Buckeye? I think it's buckeyeamp.com. Buckeyeamp.com. And then if you guys come through me, I can, I just became a dealer for them. So it's same experience, but him and I just partnered together to try and bring you guys, because I'm not going to make a ton of money on these amps. It's very, very low margins, but I just want to bring the best to the customers. And I felt like this is what makes the most sense. And it's what I'm putting in my room. So why not partner with them and give that to you guys. That's
So are you going to be replacing all your amplifiers? Your
eventually,
crowns?
yeah. So the QSCs are going.
Or
The
that's
504s are going to replace those. Which the QSCs are great. I really like them, but the fans are loud. They're not as efficient,
Mhm.
and their noise floor just isn't good enough for what I need
Mhm.
because of the volumes I listen at. So I can't sell
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah. Very cool, man.
Not
So you
worth
have,
it.
so what are you looking at getting? Let me go back to,
The 704s, which are
all right,
the
so let's go and take a look back up here. So you're doing this 704
top
SA.
left. Yep.
So
For the
all
front
monoblock.
LCR. Yep.
Okay.
Because I need the
Wow.
power.
Yeah. So what are we running here? Yeah. Okay. 200. So that's interesting. So the other one actually was 225. So it's a little bit
Mhm.
higher, right? But I guess
Yep.
this is just
These are
different.
made to be push a tremendous amount of power. And they'll
Wow.
actually, I think, on the Purify spec on their website, they'll go up to like 900 and something watts. So
Okay.
it's my speakers will end up at some points doing that. And I can push amps into protection, which is why I need something that's super resilient,
Yeah.
which the Purifies are. And the QSCs have been. So
So
hopefully
Ryan,
everything works out.
what about like this right here? If they order through you, are they able to take
Oh,
advantage?
yeah.
Okay. 30-day in-home trial.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm assuming you would pay, or they would pay the shipping back if they don't like it. Is
I
that
haven't
how?
had to do that.
Okay.
So
You may not need it. You may
I
be
don't
like,
think you're gonna have a bad experience with it. I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for out of an amplifier. So
yeah,
they're fantastic.
sure.
Encore, HyperX and Purify and Ice Power to some extent have
Hmm.
just kind of revolutionized everything. So many of the manufacturers now, I mean, look at what NAD's doing now with the Purify module with the M23, that
Yeah.
audio that Gene did
Hmm.
and was in love with that thing. I mean, that's what all of these amps are moving to. So it's hugely. I think that's the next way to go. Plus, they're like 90 to 95% efficient, so you're not 10% efficiency anymore on Class A. It's just
Yeah.
saving power, which when you're running tons of channels, it makes total sense to do.
Yeah. Hypex can go high wattage.
Oh yeah, HyperX can definitely do it too. I just wanted the distortion metrics, and the HyperX NC 1200 is considerably more expensive,
Hmm.
and Purifies just seems to be the thing to go for right now.
Yeah.
So that's what I was looking at.
Yeah. Super cool, man. All right, got a couple more questions in here. Let's jump to those. So uncheck that one. Here we go. So Chadman says, if you have a budget of 10 to 12,000 for speakers, what or would you start with a 5.2, then say for Atmos, or go with less expensive speakers, movie, sports, music, 2,500 cubic feet, basement, brand? Man, there's a Chad. You got a lot of,
There's a lot in that question.
yeah. 10 to $12,000 is a good sized budget.
Oh,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Think you can get some really, really great speakers. So you're talking about 5 speakers and 2 subwoofers, or possibly 5 speakers, 2 subwoofers, and at least 2 to 4 Atmos speakers. Um, Number one, I mean, you're talking brands. Brands, I can't hound this enough. Do your best to try to hear as many brands as you possibly can,
Mm-hmm.
because your ears are going to prefer certain types of sounds. Um, you know, I like horn loaded speakers. I love compression drivers. Some people absolutely hate them. You know, Ryan has electrostats in his room. Not everybody likes that sound. Not everybody likes that narrow, kind of precision. What do you call that? Imaging? I don't know. How would you best describe that, Ryan?
Narrow dispersion.
Dispersion. Okay. So it's just like really honed in, but if you get off axis, then it's going to change drastically. So you really need to try to hear as many different things as you can. Because, I mean, we can, of course, Ryan can go, yeah, go buy some Martin Logans. I can say, yeah, go buy some JTRs or clips and stuff that I've owned, or Martin Logan 60XTIs that I reviewed that were phenomenal speakers. But I can't tell you what you're going to enjoy. So brands, my vote in walls or towers. I like towers. But there's definitely some great brands out there that are making performance based in walls.
Yep.
So we've got Perlison, They make a killer in-wall setup. I did a video with them at Cedia just recently. They're all about measurements. They're all about performance. The guys there, I had a chance to fly up there and meet with them, spend some time with them, about 2 days with Eric and Dan. And these guys know what they're talking about. They're true engineers in the space. Dan has been designing speakers for many, many, many years for a lot of different brands. And he finally was like, man, I think we should just make our own brand. And they came out of the gate like crazy, dude. They have probably 20 different models that are THX Dominus. And at that time, nobody in the market had achieved that level. Nobody. And they come out of the gate swinging, you know. I think I just did two different things there. Come out the gate swinging, trying to combine baseball and like horse racing or something. I don't know. But anyway, you get the point. But they came out and they're like, look, we're going to make a statement. And they made these incredibly performing speakers, but they make some great in walls. And Ryan, are they out now as far as availability?
Yeah, you can order them, but they're not shipping yet.
Problem is, I don't think you're going to fit within that $10,000 to $12,000 budget.
No,
listen,
well, not with subs.
Yeah,
the subs are going to eat up a big part of that. But there's so many variables that go into this question, Chad, man. I mean, how important is low frequency? How loud do you listen? I mean, does that $10,000 to $12,000 include amplification? I mean, things can get eaten up very, very quickly. Something else to consider is how far away is your main listening position, because that's going to dictate the size of the speaker and the volume requirements and a ton of other stuff.
Yeah.
So
probably the best thing, Chad, man, honestly, reach out to Ryan. Just shoot him an email. He'll jump on the phone with you and y'all can kind of pick your brain as, all right, what are your goals and what do you want to accomplish? And let's look at your budget, and he can kind of figure out, some things that he might be able to recommend to you. And then hopefully you can find a place to listen to those types of speakers. Unfortunately, we realize a lot of these stereo shops, they're not here. The hi-fi shops, they've closed down. And so sometimes we don't have the option, and sometimes we have to trust somebody else's opinion, or we have to look at, somebody that has done measurements on these speakers, if that's valuable information to you. And you just have to do your own homework on that. But Ryan can definitely talk to you about some different options. So if you're interested in that, definitely reach out to him.
I promise I don't bite. And if I am definitely a no pressure kind of guy, we can just talk. And if you decide that you want something else that I don't offer, man, that is perfectly fine. I just want the best experience for everybody that I have experience or talk to, whether that be through me or somebody else or with a different product. So don't think that just because you talk to me, you got to buy something. That is in no way, shape, or form the case. I don't think Michael would do things with me if that were the case. So it's very much, if something works out, I'll take care of you. If not, and you find something else, hell, I'll even recommend things that I don't necessarily sell if it makes sense to you. So just happy to help in any way I can.
Ryan and I, it's funny because we seem like we've been friends for a lot longer than we have. It's probably only
11
been like
months.
A year. Yeah.
11 months.
It's crazy, man. Super crazy. But I value your friendship. I value the advice that you give. I value the experiences you've had, up in Kansas City with the other guys, with your own theater room. I've heard firsthand your setup many times. And so, you know what you're talking about. So definitely reach out to Ryan. He'll hook you up, and he'll only take your money if you want to send it. No obligation. So.
Yeah, absolutely not.
8760 Oprah Winfrey says, any 4-channel power amps with XLR.
Well, all the Buckeyes do.
All of them do. Super cool.
Yeah, there's tons of them, man.
Yeah,
Well, 4-channel really isn't tons. Lots of 3 channels.
Yeah, there's not a lot of 4-channel amplifiers out
anything there. HypeX is going to be 4-channel if it's over stereo.
Gotcha.
Or more. They'll go in sets of 2.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely check those out. And like I said, there's probably some other brands. I'm not familiar with a lot of brands as far as that one. I would literally have to pull up. I know Emotiva has a basic series, but that's probably not going to have XLR.
Most of the entry level stuff doesn't have XLR.
Yeah.
Some do, but the pro stuff does, but not a lot of the home theater stuff.
Yeah. Terminator Juice. Why do you think movies with alternate alternative aspect ratios don't include an option to just watch the scope. Dude, that's genius. It probably comes
That's
down
actually a really good idea.
Man, I wish version that it was played in the theaters. So the interesting thing that don't include an option to just watch the scope version. A lot of the movies that I've seen that had that double aspect isn't in the theater. Don't they switch it there too?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they have a only scope version in
If
the
they did it, they would just have to crop it, which is effectively what you would be doing
like
on your
mask it.
projector. You just overscan it.
Right.
So it's the same. That's probably why they don't do it. And you'd have to include another disc because you would have to re-encode the whole movie.
That's true. Because that's all. I mean, if you're looking at 4K, 4K barely fits on a Blu-ray disc now or a 4K disc now. I don't know if they could put 2 4K discs on there. So you're probably right on that. So again, it's going to probably come down to cost. There's not a simple way to say, okay, let's just turn that feature off, because natively there were sections of that movie that were filmed with like IMAX cameras. So that's going to be that 16 by 9. And then there were other portions of the movie that they filmed it in the scope format. And so they're just literally cutting to the different formats. So there's not really a way to kind of turn that off and provide that alternative. Yep. And let's be real too. How many people truly have a scope, screen?
Not very many.
I mean, we're pretty minor as far as the amount of people in this space that are doing that. You got to realize when they produce a Blu-ray movie or a 4K movie, the vast majority of people are going to be watching this on a TV. So they're probably not going to spend a ton of money trying to give these alternate options for the minority of us that have a scope screen. So, and
then think about all of the people that have screens, then think about the minutia of that number that are actually enthusiasts and would actually care.
Yeah, true. And then think about this. So even when you get to just project, like in my audience, I did a poll not too long ago. And I said, hey, I'm just curious, how many of you have a projection screen and how many of you are rocking a TV? And honestly, I was really surprised. 3/4 of the responses said TVs. I wasn't really talking even dedicated theater room. I'm just thinking projection in general. Do you have a projection in a bedroom or a garage or wherever, or a living room? And there was only a fourth of those, I think a third of those that had projection screens. So now you take the projection category and how many of those have scope screens? I think probably the vast majority of people probably have a 16 by 9 screen, even on a projection. So it's just going to be a really, really small, minute amount of people. So that's probably, I don't think we'll ever see that, but I like it. It's cool. But, if you want another option, you've got the masking inside your projector. Probably there's things like Mad VR Envy that can do that variable aspect ratio and throughout the movie. Turn Up the Bass says evening. I can't read tonight. Evening, gents. If I EQ'd my own bass with RAW and mini DSP, and I curtain Odyssey at 350 hertz. So in other words, we're only telling Odyssey to correct below 350 hertz, which is the lower frequencies is typically where you have the issue.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
Would I really notice a difference between Odyssey, Dirac, ARC, which is Anthem, or whatever for that 250 hertz range?
Yes. And we saw this at M-Wave. There's a big difference, especially if you're not changing things afterwards and going back and level matching and stuff. There's a big difference in how the room corrections will handle. And it also depends on what room curve or house curve you're using.
And I think even on top of that, I think it depends on what is your room. Like, how bad is your room? If your room's horrible, probably I would guarantee that there's some of those that are going to do a better job at bad rooms than others. They're going to have more capability, more robust processing, more advanced algorithms. So I think you're right. There's a lot. In that.
And we did blind auditions for this, and there is a difference in how they're doing it. And there's also differences in each of the levels of each. Like take Dirac for
Yeah.
instance. It's really Dirac. I don't know if Arc and Odyssey are well. There's different levels of Odyssey, but there
Mhm.
is a major difference in different levels of Dirac and how and what it's going to be doing in the form of correcting your room. So there's a lot.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
I'm gonna start one here.
I think we just not end it there, but no more questions because
Okay.
I think we got enough, and it's
All right,
been
cool.
an hour.
So 314 Carpenter, are you guys concerned about EU? What is that?
European Union.
Okay, gotcha. Has effectively banned all 4K TVs and some 8K TVs and some 4K TVs that won't meet their new energy standards. The future is dim. I like what he did there for everyone.
I'm not worried about it. Things are going
Mhm.
to get more and more efficient as technology improves.
Yeah.
And 8K TVs haven't really been out for very long, and they're just going to be horribly inefficient for the time being. I understand what they're doing.
Mhm.
And what's the point of 8K TVs right now anyway? I get that it's problematic because they're banning them, but things are going to change. Technology is going to change. Things are, excuse me, going to get much more efficient. I mean, look at how inefficient TVs were not
Yeah.
too long ago. I
Yep.
mean, look at the
Plasma
space
TVs were
heaters that
hot,
were
right?
plasmas.
Yeah.
And it's just it sucks,
Yeah.
but I'm not too worried about it. Maybe that's because I don't live in the European Union, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah. And like Ryan said, 8K to me, I've been saying this. I think it's 5-10 years out before it's kind of like normal. I mean, it's going to be a long time. And so there's a lot of technological advancements that can take place. And if these brands really want to fight for 8K, that just means that they're going to have to make some changes to the way that they process and the way that they manufacture so that they can make them more efficient, make them less energy consumptious. Is that a word? Consumptious? That actually sounds intelligent, guys.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
You're outside my vocabulary at that
Yeah,
point. I don't know.
consumptious. I'm gonna write that down. Consumptious. That just sounds cool.
I'm just gonna look it up. I'm gonna ask
Yeah,
Google.
do it. Appreciate the $5 super chat. Mitsukid says, "Hey, are you going to do an Emotiva RMC1 video update with Dirac?" No, probably not. I reviewed the RMC1. It's been a while. So they sent it to me when they first introduced it. I had a lot of bugs with it. Hopefully by now, I mean, it's been a long time. Hopefully they've gotten those bugs worked out, but from what I've heard, they definitely don't have all of them worked out. But so I don't have any plans of because here's the reality. When I get a product in for review, especially electronics, you know, they send me whatever they're going to send me. A lot of times it's before or right at the launch. And so sometimes, I mean, I guess my thought is and this is for every company, not just Emotiva, every company, I would want to make, if I was a company, I would want to make sure this thing is in the very best condition, performance that it possibly can be before I send it out to the world. And that's both content creators and reviewers like myself, somebody that's going to be measuring these, like audioholics, somebody that's going to purchase this like a consumer. Let's try to get these things right out the gate so that we don't send it out and go, okay, you guys let us know what you find out and we'll fix it along the way. But I could do that with literally every product. I could do that with the Sofa Baton remote that I received. It was really buggy. And some people said, "Hey, are you going to review the new one?" I mean, dude, I got more stuff in the theater room that I can. I mean, this is all new stuff, so it's hard to just go back and review something again because I'm going to say a lot of the same things other than, okay, it works now, or I didn't run into these issues, or I still ran into some of these issues. So I don't know. I'm not sure I see a ton of value. I'd rather another content creator that hasn't reviewed that product to get it in and let them kind of
I
say,
agree.
here's what I feel. Here's what I've experienced. Here's where it's at in its current state, and just kind of let them do that.
Or if you had the RMC one already and you were
Correct.
reviewing it and doing the update.
Absolutely. So if I owned it and I did all the updates that they had, added and, and I'm not experiencing it, of course I could say, yeah, man, here we are 6 months past. This thing is performing a lot better. I don't run into these issues. and they've fixed those. But like I said, hopefully by now, I mean, it's been a long time. It's probably been 2 years or longer. So I would really hope that any company after 2 years could get some firmware updates to fix, any bug issues that they were incurring there. Dirk Desar says, what do you think of Emotiva amps? I've reviewed a couple of Emotiva amps, even their basic series. And I at one time I had the Emotiva XPA 11 and I had the Monolith 11X. So both of these are 11 channel amplifiers. The Monolith is 200 by 3 and then 100 by 8. So your front 3 gets 200 watts a channel. Your surround, side surrounds, surround backs, and Atmos, kind of the way I've got it set up, those would get 100 watts. With the Emotiva, they do their power distribution quite a bit differently. So they give a lot more power to the front soundstage. So now you're looking at 300 watts per channel for the LCR, but then you're only getting 65 watts a channel for the other 8 speakers. So how much of that could you hear? I don't know. When I reviewed both of them, I didn't hear any differences. I didn't notice, oh, this one sounds cleaner, or this one I don't hear as much distortion. My brain was not able to determine that. And part of that is our audible memory is pretty horrible. And so by the time I unhook an amplifier, hook it all back up, rerun calibration, Odyssey in my case, that's a long time. I mean, that's 30 minutes probably or longer that my ears have had a chance to forget what I've heard. And so
there's a lot of bias and subjectivity that can get brought in there, but
I didn't notice, there wasn't anything that my brain told me, oh, this is so much better. I opted to go with the Monolith 11X just simply because it was kind of more even, 200 and 100 versus 365.
Well, and you're going and getting behind ATI's legendary brand and their amplifiers.
They've been around for a long
that's got a big part of it. But I think you guys have heard me say this with AVRs and pre-pros. You should buy based on what you're trying to accomplish, the spec and the feature of what you're trying to do. Does X, Y, or Z fit the bill at X, Y, or Z price point? And then decide from there. So in my case, just using myself as an example, I need a tremendous amount of power, and the Purifies deliver that at 0 distortion all the way through the power band. So that's why I chose those. That's why I chose the QSCs when I did it. And if you don't, there's other options, and you just need to decide what features you're looking for, what your budget is, and then what particular products check all those boxes for you, and then you have your answer.
Yeah. Super, super cool, man. Just while you're talking, I'm throwing up some comments here. All right, last couple questions here. We got about 4 more. So Johnny E says, what's up, Ryan and Youth Man? My question is, I have the Monolith 7X channel amplifier, the JTR 215 RM.
Segue.
Is that any good for those speakers, or do I need to invest in the Emotiva XPA DR3, which that actually has 450 watts per channel into 8 ohms? So part of the thought is, I know that you have to double the amplification to get 3 dB of gain and volume. The JTRs are super efficient. They're not, let me see, the 215 RM.
Jeff says they're mid 90s, but I bet they're higher than that. They're 95.
Their efficiency. So for those of you that don't know efficiency, let me pull up this here. Let's turn that off. So efficiency is going to determine how loud it can get with, a certain amount of wattage. So in this case, we can see right here, the sensitivity is 95 decibels. And so he's using 2 volts.
Why does he do 2 volts instead of 2.83?
I don't know. This part can, I always have seen where they measure it with 1 watt at 1 meter, which is 3 feet. You place the microphone. So as far as voltage, I don't know how that differs.
Tony, are you here? I saw you in chat earlier. Do you know why he does this? Usually it's 1 watt at 2.83 volts. Why does he do 2 watts or 2 volts?
Or is that a typo? So yeah, so Tony, if you're in the chat, let us know, man.
But anyway, Johnny, I think you'd be perfectly fine with that monolith. I mean,
Mhm.
that's more than enough power for those 215s unless you have an
Yeah,
enormous room.
yeah,
I don't think you're going to have any problem driving those.
yeah. So
Oh no, he's gone. But Johnny, back to your question.
there we go.
Michael's back.
That's funny.
I
Yeah.
think you're fine, Johnny. On the monolith's going to be a phenomenal amplifier. It's giving you more channels. I don't think you need 450 watts at 8 ohms and then like 900 watts at 4 ohms. You're not going to need that unless you're trying to rupture your eardrums.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with having extra power, but whether or not you need it, like I said, uh, where I could see that being a big benefit is if you've got some speakers that are, say, like 82 dB. So they're just really power hungry. So the more
Mhm.
power you can feed them, the better off they're going to sound. But with things like clips, JTR, they're really high efficient. I think JBL, they're pretty high efficient. Um, they just don't require a lot of power to really get them cranking. So your ears are going to give out long before that amplifier is going to reach
Mhm.
the extent of its power, I think. So good question there, man. Daniel says, are the Buckeye amps also made in 240 volt for export?
I'd
Like
have
in,
to ask Dylan. I don't know the answer to that question, but I wanted to bring that up just so that we could ask it.
yeah,
I'll ask Dylan.
super cool. So reach out to Ryan so he can have your email.
That would be smart.
And then, let me put it up there for a little bit. But reach out to Ryan at ascendav.net, and just say, hey, I was the one asking you about the Buckeye amps, 240 volt, and he can get with Dylan and find out for you, man. Draw the line 35 says, do either of you use a kaleidoscope? I do not. Ryan does. Curious if the picture audio quality is a noticeable step above a physical 4K disc. The ultimate age-old question, Ryan.
I don't think that's why you buy a kaleidoscope. I think you buy a kaleidoscope for ease of use. You buy it for not having to go anywhere, to have all of your library digitized in one of the easiest to use OSDs on the market. I mean, I like their OSD more than Plex. I think it's phenomenally well done.
Oh,
They go through and do all of the scene locations. They break everything down. You can create your own scripts. You have
trailers.
access to 10 to 15,000 movies, some of which never saw Blu-ray or UHD releases. There are some movies that are going to be above the disc release. The problem is they don't publicize what movies those are, so you don't really know.
Mhm.
I would not use that as a buying decision. The buying decision here is ease of use and ease of access is really the big
And it
thing.
just works. I
It
mean, I
just
know
works.
with Plex on my end, man, I struggle with it. It's a
It
love-hate
just works.
relationship.
And there's a reason why so many manufacturers use it at places like Cedia. I mean, everyone has one there because it
Yeah.
just works. You don't have to fight with it. It just works, which is the best thing, and that's why people get it. And the older I get, the more I realize that my time is worth something, and I don't want to be fighting with Plex and all of this other stuff. I just want it to work. So if you're to that point, yeah, it makes sense. But if you're buying something just because it's better than
Mhm.
physical disc, I know that's one of their marketing points. That's not how I sell it, and that's
Yeah,
not what I like to tell people. That's all I think could be subjective. I don't even know that you'd notice.
sure.
But one other big benefit of it, though, is that when new versions of a movie come out, you get those updates for free, and they do it automatically. So
Gotcha.
that's beneficial.
Super cool. And sometimes you get early access to movies. So,
Yeah,
well,
like I had Top Gun in August,
yeah.
the full version, not the streamed version, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
So you get that a
I tell
lot
I
because
tell
it's
people,
direct
like,
relationships with studios.
don't even waste your time on streaming
No,
that movie. Why would you want to do that?
no.
Yeah.
So that's
It
really,
deserves
really nice. I mean, I had it 3 months early, which was awesome.
I'm still
Can't
waiting on
complain
my
about that at
4K.
all.
It
What
comes
a
out
loser.
November 9th. So I'm not as cool as you, Ryan. I never claimed to be.
I'm
I'm
just giving you a hard time. But
so
yeah, draw the line. Don't buy based on is it better quality? Buy based on ease of use and if that's worth it to you.
yeah. Kind of goes back to what you were talking earlier about features. Does
Yeah,
it meet the needs? Does it check off all the boxes that you need?
that's a good point.
So, and it's not for everybody, but definitely, man, I love it. I think we saw I had a chance to hang out with Kaleidoscape at 2 of their venues. So one was at their actual booth, and then one was at an off-campus dealer showroom, Elliston, and both of those were using Kaleidoscape. We went through numerous demo rooms, and like you said, I think Kaleidoscape was featured in 30 different setups
Yep.
at Cedia. That's crazy.
Some booths have multiple Kaleidoscapes for
Yeah.
feeding multiple displays. I mean,
Yeah.
they're indispensable in the demo realm.
Yeah, Sony, they had what, 4? I think they had 4 rooms in theirs. So good question there. So BG Light says, Ryan, this one's for you. I have a 6.2.4 speaker setup with one speaker at the back of my room. Will this give me the same performance as a 7.2.4? So he basically has a 5.1 bed layer with an additional
That's not how I took that. I took that as he
speaker in
has
the
a
rear,
Phantom
right?
center.
All right, let me read it again. Ryan's one. Okay. 6 point. Let's just say, let's forget about the Atmos. Don't worry about that. So let's look at a 6 and just say 6.
6 would mean he has a Phantom center because he has an even number of speakers. He wouldn't have a center channel.
But look what he's saying though. He has one speaker in the back of the room. So that means he has 5 bed layer speakers. I would think LCR, 2 side surrounds, and a center back. And I think he's asking, is that center back going to be the same experience as if I had 2 stereo pair in the back? So correct me if I'm wrong, BG. Let us know in the chat if that is the way that your setup is.
I don't even know. Well, Dolby and DTS don't even support that. A center back channel.
There were certain receivers, and I forget which models, that you could actually tell it. I think like Yamaha, maybe you could tell it, hey, I've got one center in the back, and it basically takes the left and right surround back content and kind of merges those and combines them and puts it in that center.
Really?
I think, yeah, literally. So a long time ago, I think
Procon Tech Center says 6.1 DTS-ES. I guess Jed Presley says 6 only has one rear surround. I don't think you're going to get the same directionality. I mean, maybe if you had the right speaker that had really wide dispersion, maybe. But if that's the best you can do, I don't see why not. I mean,
if you're capable of doing 7, go 7 versus 6. And like Ryan said, the biggest reason, the whole point of having multiple speakers throughout your room is so that you can have localization of where objects are placed. So if you're looking at like Dolby Atmos and being able to place a sound just in your far back left speaker, you're not going to be able to do that if you have a center speaker. It's going to just come from straight behind you versus behind and off your left shoulder.
This is today I learned, man, people are saying that Dolby and Marantz have this.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like I said, yeah. Right. Yeah. So, and I think where that came from is there was a transition period between maybe say 5.1 and 7.1, and brands were like, oh, let's add a center speaker back there. That'll give you some sound behind you. And people are like, oh, that's cool. So let's do that. And then they went to 7. But I think some of those AVRs allow you to still utilize that same layout.
So I would say you are not going to get the same experience, but it's so much of a diminishing return. I don't know that it matters.
Yeah. It kind of depends on your setup. Like if you had a center in-wall speaker and now you're like, okay, now I got to cut 2 more holes, patch up that hole. Is it worth it? Again, it's that law of diminishing return.
Yeah.
So, but
thanks for the correction, chat. But if
I
ever am wrong, please tell me.
Yeah, he's wrong a lot.
I am.
I'm wrong more than you are. Cool doing. Last question of the night. Douchebag 16 says, it's kind of funny just hearing me say that.
It is, because that stuff never comes out of your mouth.
I know it. I measured with my phone, so take this with a grain of salt. My room is 8 foot high, 8 foot to 10 foot. I guess 8 foot probably would be his width, 10 foot deep, maybe. Yep, there we go. No, it's 8 to 10 feet wide and about 8 feet deep. I'm all messed up tonight. Probably helps if I just read through it first. I can have a nice projector in my bedroom, or is that unrealistic? So we're looking at
your throw distance isn't long enough.
10 feet wide. It depends on how big your how big your screen is. So easiest thing to do is I would head over to Audio Advice Live, not Audio Advice Live, Audio Advice. They have a new projector calculator on their website. There's also another one on Projectors. What is it? Central.com.
Mhm.
I think they have a Projector Calculator Pro. Best way to do that is you can plug in your dimensions, plug in, the model projector that you're looking at, and then each projector has its own throw distance. In other words, it needs to be back so many feet to be able to make that size of an image. Prime example, my room is 13 feet wide, 19 feet deep. So I've got 19 feet. I wanted to have a 150-inch diagonal screen. That screen is basically 4 feet from my front wall. So effectively, you take 19 feet minus that 4 feet. And so I've got 15 feet roughly of space between the screen and my back wall. And to be able to hit 150 inches, I need about 16 feet, 3 inches. So what that meant, and it actually worked out to my advantage, and there was a lot of advantages of doing this, but we actually had to cut a hole in my wall, mount the projector in a hall closet and bedroom closet. And so now the projector is literally outside the room to be able to reach that size. And so the easiest thing to do is just go to one of those calculators.
Audio Advice doesn't even let you get that shallow.
What's that on there?
Yeah, it's 10 foot.
Okay.
I think at that throw, you're better off with a big TV.
Yeah.
Or an ultra short throw. The benefits of a long throw projector, you're not going to gain. Your screen's going to be too small. It'll be ultra bright if it's small enough, but I don't think it's worth it.
If your room's only 8 feet, that's probably going to be really, really limiting.
83-inch OLED.
Yeah, you can do that, or possibly, honestly, man, 8 feet with an 83-inch, dude, that'd be
pretty good.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Because you're going to be sitting probably closer to 7 foot.
Yeah, the closer you are to the screen, the more immersive it's going to be.
Dude, that would be that'd be pretty good, actually.
Yeah, to me, I recommend projectors. Basically, if you're going 100-inch or bigger, 100%, man. I love the immersiveness that you get from a projection. But like Ryan said, I mean, when you're at 8 feet, it's not like you're going to be able to put 150 in there. You don't have 16 feet of throw distance. So that's going to be really, really hard.
I mean, you could do an NZ9, but even then you're probably only going to get a 100-inch. And it's got the shorter throw. So your best suggestion, ultra short throw, TV. And at that point, I would say a TV if you're that close to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So either one of those. So you're going to get a much better image quality out of a TV, OLED, something like that, big one, than you would an ultra short throw. But if you want 100-inch, 120-inch, there's some really great ultra short throws out there. The one that still today is my favorite is the Hisense L9G. It's a great, great unit. I think it can throw up to about 120-inch. But again, 120 inches from 6 feet might be a little overwhelming,
That's
so
pretty big.
Yeah. So 80 something, 85, 83, whatever. That might be really, really good. Even a 75 might be really great in that size room. So I think you definitely have some options. I just don't think a standard projector is going to be in the cards for you, brother. So cool deal, man. Had some great discussion, great questions, great comments. Appreciate all you guys. If you've got questions on home theater, if you've got equipment that you need to purchase, Ryan's a great dude to work with. You can hit him up at ryan@ascendav.net. Super nice guy. He's not going to pressure you into buying anything, but he'll definitely give you some options. He's a vendor, not vendor. He's a dealer for a lot of different brands. You can go to his website, Ascend AV. Do you have all of the brands listed?
No.
Have you updated that?
No, I need to do that.
I didn't think so. So
I need to update that for sure.
On his homepage down at the bottom, that'll give you an idea of some of the brands, but he's been adding on quite a few, like Buckeye is probably not on there yet. So if you're interested in those types of things, just reach out to him. So, but
I do want to point out, we got an NZ9 that a customer backed out of. So
okay,
it's sitting in my garage, ready to go in stock. If anybody has any interest in it, it's the big boy. I know it's not for everybody, but they're hard to come by. So if anybody has any interest in a JVC NZ9, that's the way to go. But before you jump, Michael, I just want to say that The community and myself are so blessed to have you for what
I
you've done to
appreciate it.
everything and
Thanks, man.
what you've done to the space. And I've seen it grow even over the past year with everything that you've done. And I
Cool.
think everybody's very, very blessed to have you
I
as
appreciate
a
it, man.
resource.
I love doing it. Before we wrap up, I want to share with you guys that have stuck around to the end. I have a company that's flying me over to the Philippines in about 3 weeks. Me and Jessica.
Really?
I'm dead serious.
Wow.
I'm dead serious, man.
That's awesome.
So things like that, you say that you guys are blessed. I feel extremely blessed that I get a chance to do this for a living. Like I get a chance to go experience these cool home theaters and share it with you, hopefully to provide inspiration to you in your space. Sometimes these are big, elaborate, high-end, really expensive home theaters. And then sometimes they're very budget friendly or they're in a living room or in a basement. And my hope is that whether I'm doing a product review, whether I'm doing a how-to video, whether we're doing a live stream like this, answering your questions, or whether I'm doing like a tour, whether it be at a brand's location, whether it's at Cedia looking at their booth, or whether we're doing a home theater tour like we've done in Kansas, and we'll probably end up making another trip or two up there. So we need to work on that one probably. So
Well, I need to work on what coming down in the beginning of December, and if we want to do something when I'm down there, because I'll be in Tampa.
Oh, sweet, dude. So that's for that show that you were telling me about.
Mm-hmm.
So I did email them today. So I'm just trying to get some more information on that. So hopefully I'll hear back tomorrow from them. But so definitely a lot of cool stuff that's happening. I got my silver play button that's coming Tuesday. So I'm excited for
I'm
that.
excited for you for that.
We gave away $33,000 in giveaways. That was super, super cool. I've been posting, some guys have been emailing me like photos of them with their, the giveaway. So I've been trying to share that on social, just saying, hey, I'm super happy for these folks. And so any way that I can give back to the community, whether it's through answering questions, emails, I'm just grateful, dude. I really am. I could not ask for a better community of people that are passionate about the same things we're passionate about. I mean, Ryan's a dealer, but he's first and foremost an enthusiast himself. He loves home theater. He loves music, and you guys as well, And
I
so
still
that's really,
cherish the M-Wave cooler.
what's that?
I still cherish the M-Wave cooler, says Chris.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's right. Yeah, Ryan was like, man, I don't want to store these for a year. Chris, you want to take these? Just bring them back next year. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, man. So we drop a like before you leave. I appreciate that, Ike. Ike's another great dude. We had a chance to hang out with him at Cedia and spend some time with him and his family. And check out his channel. He's got an awesome home theater channel as well. So, well, guys, we're going to wrap this up. Appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Hope you have an incredible week. We've got a lot of content coming in the coming weeks. A lot of different reviews, product reviews. I'm trying to get through those. So definitely be on the lookout for those. And we do this every week at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So we'd love to have you join us again next Sunday. Hopefully we'll get Jonathan back in the video. And is he taking a break tonight, or did you reach out to him?
He had some family stuff going on.
Super cool, man. But Jonathan's always a great resource as well. Love having him on. So guys, hope y'all have an incredible week. We'll catch you in the next video.
See you guys later.